All right, guys, it's this may be the commonplace where it's just odd even going forward on a fun week of the idiot and a not so fun week. So we'll go forward here. This is Ole Miss's opening drive, and I know a lot of people will see this, and I think the instant reaction for fans and for really anybody is, oh, we screwed this up, we should have done better, blah blah blah. Sometimes you got to tip your cap to a really good play caller, a really good play designer, and I don't know where it kind of stops and ends with Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr., but they do a really nice job here. So on this one, we're just going to go through the drive. Maybe not all the plays, but just kind of bits and pieces that stick out to me. So right here, the guy in question is Kip Lewis, and Kip doesn't do anything wrong here. They basically force him to be wrong. They put him in a situation where whatever he chooses, they'll do the other. So watch Caden Lee, who's going to come out here in the flat, and then Stribling's going to work in right here, basically running at Kip Lewis. So just kind of watch as that plays itself out. So there's no world where Kip Lewis is going to be right. So he takes just maybe 1-2 steps this way, and Stribling just kind of works and sits down behind him here. If he stays firm and holds his ground, then Caden Lee is going to, let's see. Way too far. Okay. Then Caden Lee has an easy little catch out here in the flat and probably turns it upfield for yardage as well, up for the first down. So this is just Guillory's playing real far off, and Oklahoma, again, they're trying to force Ole Miss to drive the field. I think that's a sound tactic, especially early on. I said it before, but Chambliss made some throws in this game he did not make the week before against Georgia. And it's still wild for me to say, but Chambliss was under more pressure against Oklahoma than he was against Georgia. Georgia would love to have what Oklahoma has up front right now. So, take that any way you want, but he just missed some throws. And then again, the one that I really noticed it is for Under the Hood for Sooner Scoop, I broke down the LSU game, and anytime LSU flushed him, he was real panicky. That was one of the few times he put the ball at risk. And were when LSU were able to keep him behind the line of scrimmage and make him throw. And he, like I said, he was a little dangerous with the ball. So I'm trying to remember the sequence of plays here. Oklahoma does a nice job here. Kendall Daniels crashes down real hard, eats up that blocker, runs him right to Kobe McKenzie. That's OU being OU, just good run defense. I think this is one of the ones I really like the design of. I think it's the deep ball. If I'm not mistaken, Caden Lee is going to come up here and run a little post, and they're going to use some motion. If I'm not mistaken, I could be a play early here, but I think I'm right. They're going to use some motion, to affect Robert Spears-Jennings. Watch Robert Spears-Jennings just move maybe 3-4 yards to his right. Look at where Robert Spears-Jennings is when he's got to come back over there. If you think that 3 or 4 yards wouldn't have mattered, again, and that's what you get when you get these play callers. And credit to Chambliss. He's got to fit it in a tight window, and he's got to do it on a very specific timeline, because the whole point of Daquan Wright's motion here.
Hard for the defense.
Sorry. The whole point of his motion here is to affect Robert Spears-Jennings, who's lined up to the inside of the hash, and by the time he's done, he's, like I said, 3-4 yards to the right. Not a big deal, but in a window this tight, it matters. And again, I don't. People can watch that, and I watched it in real time. I thought, oh, Robert Spears-Jennings late getting over there, and technically that's true. But when you watch it back and you watch the All-22 and you can see some of this stuff, you're like, oh, okay. I can see how that happened. You understand he's got some responsibility for Wright, because if he doesn't respond correctly to Wright, so he'd come over here. If Chambliss was focused here, look at that throw. That's there if Spears Jennings isn't in the vicinity. But that's, again, that was all a ploy to open up Caden Lee. And really, again, it's the same deal. They're trying to put, just like we talked about with Kip Lewis 2 plays ago, they're trying to put Robert Spears Jennings in a position where he can't win. He's going to be wrong. And then it's up to Chambliss to complete the throw. So, again, just sometimes a good play caller does things. Now, we know we're going to talk about a few of these where, for some unknown reason, Kiffin just decides to go nuts and do something really, I mean, you're moving the ball. I don't really understand why you want to overcomplicate this, but, you know, it's one play. It's not the end of the world, and it's certainly not his most egregious personnel change. So, you know, whatever. Trying to remember what this. Oh, this is really nice from Eli Bowen. This is nice coverage for him outside. And I know people say, well, he had his back to the ball. Yeah, but unless Chambliss makes a perfect throw that I don't care who's out there is not going to defend it, there's not much for Chambliss to do here. Part of me kind of thinks he knows it, and I'm not convinced he was trying to complete that pass. Because you look at that was one of his worst throws all day by about a mile to be that far off. Because, again, look at Bowen. He gets that inside coverage. He's turning. He's got his back to him. But, you know, again, unless he just throws a perfect ball over Odom's outside shoulder, I don't know what they're going to do with that. So let's see here. Oh, yeah. So, guy who had a huge day and I think is going to be one of the guys I single out at the end of this, maybe make kind of a singular highlight reel, is Cortland Guillory. This kid, man, we heard all off season, best man-to-man cover corner OU's got, and boy, he showed it in this one. He looked really good, broke up a lot of passes, super confident, and that's a good group of Ole Miss wide receivers. That is you know, when you talk about it 2 to 3 years from now, Cortland Guillory may look back and be like, that's when it all came together for me. That's when I felt like I built confidence from that moment. And not that Cortland's not always been a confident guy, but I think that was pretty interesting. Just a really good play from young Guillory. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about this later on, but just kind of wanted to highlight that to cap off the drive where, again, Ole Miss makes a couple of plays, one in particular, the big one to lead down the middle, and that provides this field goal. That's what makes this whole drive happen.